Hey everybody, welcome to the Real United States, and welcome to our 500th episode. Now we had thought about perhaps doing something, over the moon, something spectacular, some big production, but that really wouldn't be in keeping with the theme of the whole channel, I guess, the way we've done things for the last 4.5 years. So we're going to do sort of a normal episode, and basically the episode's going to be about being the 500th episode. I can think of no place more iconic for a channel called the Real United States than down here on the National Mall. You can see the United States Capitol building behind me, a little more than a quarter of a mile away. Newly refurbished and shining in the sun. We had beautiful, beautiful light today, so we just got lucky. It is a little coolish, but I decided to take my coat off just because it's easier to move, and I do like to move around while I'm talking. Anyway, so this is number 500. In 4.5 years, we've done 500 episodes. And we want to thank all of you who have made that possible, who have stayed with us and watched and commented and been so kind and so supportive. So I definitely want to make sure that I say thank you to everyone who is watching this, who has watched everything we've done in the past, and for everyone that will watch what we're going to do in the future. Now, the National Mall. I know I've mentioned it in several episodes. It is America's front lawn. Okay? This is a national park. It is the most visited national park in the United States. Over 24 million people a year come to the National Mall and see, of course, all the surrounding sites. Capitol building, the monuments, the museums. It is, depending on where you measure, roughly 2 miles long, stretching from the United States Capitol all the way down to the Lincoln Memorial. And it is 309.2 acres, I'm given to understand. And when I started researching that, it was kind of confusing because the National Mall, it said was 146 acres, but then there's, the Lincoln Memorial is, I don't know, some other figure, number 100 plus acres, and then so all these things. But collectively, it's 309.2 acres, which makes it just a little less than 1/2 square mile. A mile by a half mile, so because there's 640 acres in a square mile, so that gives you some idea of the magnitude of this. So wear comfortable shoes if you're coming here because there's a lot of walking. Anyway, so I want to go ahead and we're going to pan around. As a matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do here, folks, is I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to let Beth tell you about one of the buildings that's right over here on the side of the mall. How you feel about that, dear?
All right.
Okay, so we'll switch.
Hi, everybody. I'm not taking my coat off because I'm cold. And the building that you can probably see over my left shoulder has red brick, and that's the castle. That's the Smithsonian Castle. It's one of my favorite places to be here in DC. When they started the Smithsonian Museums, that was the first building that was built, and since then it has expanded into all 19 museums that we have nowadays. And my favorite place, one of my favorite places ever for me to come and spend a day, is down here on the mall, just walking around, going to a museum or two. I take a museum a day or part of a museum a day. If you're going to go to the American History Museum and you want to see all of it, I suggest you plan 2 days. And I'm not lying, it's huge. And I just love it down here in the summer especially. The trees are out, the squirrels are playing in the yard, people are walking and laughing and riding bikes. People are laughing and walking and riding bikes, and they've got benches here to sit in to eat your lunch. It's just a marvelous, happy place to be, and I really like it. It just makes me feel good to be here. So now we're going to give you back to Paul, and he's going to tell you about what's at the other end of the mall.
Time to do it, do-si-do. Sorry about the jiggle in the camera during the transitions, folks, but that's I'm trying to do this as unedited as possible.
I need you to back up a little bit there. You're taller than me. Okay?
But I need to be close enough to this shotgun microphone. We only have one lavalier microphone, folks, so we decided to shoot this with the shotgun microphone, open mic, so that we could trade places and keep the sound levels relatively close to the same. So if you wondered what's going on here. Anyway, behind me now, you should be able to see, depending, I don't know where I'm supposed to be, but
Yeah, that's good.
the Washington Monument. Now, that is very nearly a mile away from us. 3/4 of a mile to a mile away from us right now. And it still looks pretty big. Anyway, that is not directly in the center of the mall. It's a little bit closer to the Lincoln Memorial than it is to the Capitol building. But, you know, for all intents and purposes, rule of thumb, that is roughly the middle of the National Mall. Now, let's see if we can do a zoom in past it. And we're going to show you that way down on the far end. And I'm sure you've seen shots that gave you some relative idea of where these things are. That is the Lincoln Memorial. A good another 3/4 of a mile or so past the Washington Monument, way down at the far end of the mall. Obviously a site of a lot of historic speeches and events that have happened over the decades. You see the ring of, as we zoom back, you're going to see a ring of flags around the base of the Washington Monument, always flying. That's you know, some iconic thing that you're going to see if you come here to Washington, D.C. The Smithsonian Institution that Bev was talking about, of course, lines both sides of the mall. Here behind me, you're going to see the Museum of Natural History, which we did an episode on, I think last year or more ago. Beyond that is the Museum of American History and Technology. The art museum's right here. The sculpture garden. Let's go ahead and swing around here. Right across here is the sculpture garden of the Smithsonian Institution, which we did an episode from. So again, we've done these little peripheral episodes over the course of the time that we've been here in the DC area, but I never really talked much about the mall itself. Now, I don't know that they will ever build anything more on the mall itself. It's largely an open area, a park for the public. But they've done a lot of refurbishing lately. It's kind of hard to see through the camera, but all this area has been graded and new gravel put in. Of course, there's new curbs around the grass, and you got these big grassy areas which right now are roped off. And I think that's largely because it's springtime and they're trying to let the grass sprout and get a good start. This area was under construction for a good part of the last year and a half or so. A lot of grading going on and other things. So, and of course the famous food trucks. Can we zoom in and see that, dear?
All right, hang on.
Yeah, this is kind of a klutzy episode, folks, but we want to just do this in, you know, very, very real time. That, I believe that's, I'm going to say that's 7th Street.
Yeah, it is.
So that's where the food trucks are almost always parked along 7th Street. And again, with 24 million people coming through here every year, they do a great trade, and that's why there's so many of them all the time. Anyway, it's just it's a very peaceful place. They're, you know, it gets really, really crowded, and especially with cherry blossom season coming here in a couple of weeks, this is going to be absolutely packed with thousands of visitors who come for the festival. But you couldn't ask for a more perfect day to come in and celebrate our 500th anniversary, our 500th episode. I suppose that's a sort of an anniversary. And so, Bev and I would like to both thank you for joining us here on The Real United States.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, she says. I'd like to thank you for joining us here on The Real United States. And thanks for joining us for 500 episodes. Hopefully you'll be along with us for 500 more. If you've got questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I love hearing from all of you. I try to get back to everybody I can. And as always, well, thank you for watching.